In this very short workout, this is I stay consistent, I exercise, I do it even if I have a short amount of time workout. When those things get squished together, because the workout shortens, it's important that you know I may need a longer warm-up. You've got to know yourself. I want you to know yourself, your joints, your lower back, your needs, and warm-ups and cool-downs get more important as we age. Our goal, 3 exercises, 3 sets. We call that tri-setting. We're going to start with more of a functional warm-up, and you can see I've started already. So I'm going to go with easy lunges out to the side. Lateral work is something we need more of than we need linear forward work because we move that way, we rotate that way. So my coach and I, and we'll see how well he behaves, are going to stay right here close to the mat, but I want you to notice a few details on these side lunges. So I'm going a little deeper as I get warm. If it's earlier morning and you're not quite warm, you're a little stiff, you don't go deeper. Just let yourself go into, feels like this feels good. But that heel goes down and my toe points in. So I'm actually looking toward my other foot, and that's on purpose. That's good form. What we're trying to accomplish is really opening up through this lateral hip a little bit more and getting a stretch through the inner thigh of this straight leg. We're just going to do a couple more. Now you can feel or hear I'm a little bit more out of breath than when I started. I wouldn't say breathless, but you're using major muscles in your legs. I'm talking, so there's a little more effort there. I'm going to have you shake that out. I'm going to have you take this into rear lunges. And again, don't go deep. We're just getting started. You're trying to find the ball of your foot. So toe down to the ball, setting it back, weight into your heel, chin and chest are up, chest goes forward, eyes are up, shoulders are down. And you can take your hands, put them up. You'll be more conscious of your core. Good. Now, as you feel like, okay, I am a little warmer, this is beginning to feel good, we're going to go a little bit deeper. Not feeling that way? You might be here, putting your fingers on something for balance, and that is okay. Nice job. Good, and release. Shake that out. I'm going to have you raise the knees up, just holding here, just an easy high march. So this is really not about getting breathless. We're not ramping up to do cardio, but we do want a little core strength. So I'm going to have you take your arms up, and we're going to move them. Just want you to mirror what I do. So arms straight up, you're going to drop one to the side, you're going to bring them up, drop the other to the side. We're going to flip them here, and what that does is changes your balance, changes your center of gravity. You have to work a little harder, and you may notice one of your sides works a little differently, and you feel a little bit more off balance with the arms one way versus the other. Nothing wrong with that, perfectly normal. Palms are up, thumbs back. Good. First move is going to be a squat, down and up, wide in a plie squat if you can. If that's not comfortable for you, you're going to move your feet just slightly wider, then shoulder width apart, and come down and up, weight on the heels. Chin and chest stay up, eyes are up, shoulders relaxed. You could do that no weight if you prefer or don't have any right now. You could also do this with super bands around your feet, and if you know what I mean, you have them. If you don't, let that one go. I'm going to hold on to a kettlebell. You can hold on to a single dumbbell or 2 dumbbells, one in each hand. Totally up to you. This just happens to help me weight this a little heavier. Now, on certain days, I might also wear a weighted vest. However, we're going to go from this exercise to lying on your back to a chest press. And that would not be really comfortable if you've got a weighted vest that has some weights in the back, which is what I highly recommend. Weights in front, weights in back, on a vest, distributes the weight evenly for you. As you're coming down here, let's pay attention. Weight on the heels. Your chin and chest are up though. So nobody should know between your tailbone and your head that you're coming down in a squat. I also want you to think about, are you allowing that weight to drag your shoulders down? And let's not. Let's make sure that you're holding it up. Push through the heels to come up. We're going to lower and power and lower and power. And we're getting a little bit more endurance work here because doing a few more reps to get a little bit more volume as we warm this first set up. Good. Go ahead and put this weight down. We're going to grab the weights. So the second exercise down to the floor will be a chest press. We're going to end up wanting those weights right beside the mat. So as you come down, and if you have a bench, feel free to use that. If you have a resistive ball, so a big exercise ball, my recommendation is, unless you have really light weights, that you don't. And if you want to go heavier, ideally you're going to put yourself on a stable platform so that you can. The less stable you are, the less weight you're actually lifting for those major muscle groups. So we start here, hovering the elbows off the floor, and then push straight up and come down. And lift and lower. Good, and lift and lower. And I really want you to think about pulling your shoulder blades back down to the floor. So you're really squeezing them down and into the floor, and push and slowly lower. So notice there's a degree of speed on the way up, but we always slow it down so we have total control as we lower it. In lower, reverse. So it's a push and then lower. I want you to notice one detail here. When I come up, I'm not locking my elbow at the top. It's extended but slightly flexed. Press and then come back. Nice job. Press up and come down and back. Push up and down and release. Good. We're going to go for 2 more. If you're at fatigue, fantastic. You're successful. You want to be at fatigue at some point. And if you're not, you're going to learn that you need heavier weights. And then release. We're going to drop these weights down, not actually drop. That's not a great word. To take care of your back, turn to your side, push yourself up, and then we roll over here. To come up, really important distinction. Watch my back. I'm going to try to come up with a straight back as opposed to rounding the back up. So we're going to hold the weights. We'll come back to get them. But you come up using the power of your legs. That protects your lower back. So as you're ready for the bent over row, you could do this seated. If your lower back bothers you at all in this position, I want you to have a seat. This flexion from your hip is exactly the same. So we're at least at 45 degrees. I want you to drop the weights down. Make sure your weight's on your heels if you're standing. There's a slight bend in your knee, and you are arching the back, not rounding. Here we go. Power, stay here. We're going to lower this down. Power up, and then lower this down. I want you to think about kissing your shoulder blades together at the top and lower down. Pull up and release to lower. Good. Now notice I'm taking just a little flexion in my knees, coming down, and then powering up. Just a slight change in height in my leg. And that's not momentum, by the way. That's actually intelligent. Now, if you were going to bend over and pick up a dog, a baby, a toy, you would do the same thing. We want you to bend those legs and use them. And pull. Down and up. Good. Eyes are forward, looking at the floor about 6 to 8 feet in front of you. And pull. And down. Release. Weight should be on your heels. Your lower back may be talking to you right now. Just a little fatigue is normal. Pain is not. One more. Roll this up. Pull. Release. And then weights down. Those are your 3 exercises. We're going right back to number 1. Weight on the heels. Sitting back. Eyes are up. Unlock those shoulders and elbows. And lower. Power up. Lower down, power up. Your weight may or may not come to the floor, and push. I want you to squeeze a $100 bill between your cheeks, okay? And lower and push. Come down and push. So we were here doing squats about 2 minutes ago. So each of those sets of a chest press, of a bent over row, takes approximately a minute, depending on setup time, doing the exercise time, and that's about the perfect amount of time to rest, recover this working group, lower body, glutes, quadriceps, and hamstrings that are active in this exercise, so that you are going to get the best of strength because you have rested enough. And it's important that you realize exercise, when you don't take enough rest, feels harder, but does not necessarily mean you're getting better results. It simply means it's becoming more cardiovascular in nature, that you are becoming more tired, fatigued, because there's potentially a little less oxygen and glycogen ready for you to use. But when you exercise, the results come from going as fast, if it's about speed, or lifting heavy with excellent form to muscle fatigue. So it's important that you work at capacity, not just have it feel hard. Okay, last time. Now you notice that I'm giving you an about range. There's no counter on the screen. I'm not counting 1 and 2, but I have a pretty good sense after 42 years of how many repetitions, what does 12 to 15 feel like, right? But I want you to reach fatigue and say, I'm there. So I'm gonna lie down, do a chest press, try not to disrupt the dog, and weights close to you. You can roll back, keeping them close and in. Just want you to always be conscious of setup, so you're doing that safely. Lower back's on the ground. You're not jamming anything to the floor. Weights in the center of your head. Now your elbows are hovering, not at 90 degrees, not at your side, but that would be okay, but a little bit away from it. You're gonna push up, and then exhale slowly and bring that down. Exhale, push up, slowly, bring this back down. Good, here's 3, and down. Good, and 4, and lower, bringing it back down, and 5, lower, and inhale here, exhale, and bring it down. Nice job. So as you come up, the thumb end of your waist comes together. As you come apart, your wrist still remains over your elbows. Lower this down. Nice work. Good. Exhale and lower. Bring this down. Good. Exhale and lower. And you're strong. Don't forget to tell yourself that. Keep that head on the ground. In fact, if you're feeling any strain in your neck, we do tend to try to pick things up, try to control things with our upper back and neck. Try to keep that down and on the floor. In fact, even pressing gently the back of your head into the floor can be a good idea. And release. Good, let's do 3 more, unless you're at fatigue. And remember, fatigue is success. You already won if you're there already. If your weights are a little lighter than this, and you can still keep going, you just know you've learned, I need heavier weights. I'm stronger than I thought, which is often the case. Here we go. We're gonna bring this down, settle it right beside you. You can pick those up later from a standing position to protect the back. Roll on one side. I have the microphone here, so I'm not going to roll very gracefully. Coming up as you roll side and up. A little less stress on that lower back. So from that position, remember you want to avoid the dogs and then put 1 foot forward, foot back. Using the strength in your legs, ideally we can all get up just like this. If that's not the case, hand here, use something to help you propel up. Bent over row, set 2. Remember, we're hinging at the hip. We're hinging and bending at the ankle, the knee, and here with a slight arch in the back and a nice long form throughout the spine. Here we are. 1. Elbows in close to your sides, by the way, and lower down. And 2. Squeeze those shoulder blades together and lower down. And if in fact your weights are slightly lighter than you think you really need, take advantage that. And the opportunity is there to really think about squeezing the shoulder blades together. Little muscles right over there, the shoulder blades called the rhomboids. Go on vacation and they often are difficult to get to fire because we can't feel them when we go too heavy. When we lighten it up, even this may be a third of what I'm able to lift in bent over rows, but when I do this, tomorrow I will feel those rhomboids and realize I need to engage those a little bit more when I'm going heavier, but we can't wake them up by simply going heavy. The large muscles take over. Pull up and release. So there's an argument for, no matter who you are, your advanced in experience, going light sometimes changes the game in a way that still will stress you. Pull up and lower. One more time. Pull up and release. And just a quick reminder, if at the end of that set, the lower back was offering you just a little fatigue, you are stabilizing with that lower back. It doesn't mean you have a lower back problem. Might mean if it gets uncomfortable enough, you need to stop, because that's what fatigued first, and that is okay. But realize it's perfectly normal if you've not been bending and lifting recently. Last set for your squats. We take it wide if you can or want to. Take it a little bit more narrow if you prefer it. I'm going to go wide. I like that plie squat with it. Turn out, weight on my heels. I'm doing a little bit more inner thigh here. Press through the heel to come up. So when you come down is slow, controlled, and then push the floor away with your heels. Lower and lift. Nice job. Now, you may have two weights, one in each hand. Perfectly okay for you to either hold them, bring them into the middle so they're not running into your legs if you're going wide like this, or if you're going narrow, holding them at your side. It's probably feeling fine. Soften those elbows and push. If you have a great range of motion and shorter legs, you may actually touch the ground. Now there are days when, even with my shorter legs, I don't, because I'm a little tighter, a little stiffer. It all depends on what have you been recently doing. What is your current status? We're going to do 6 more together. And push. Now in these last 5, I want you to stay down, hold, and then push up. Good, and that can change the game. Lower and stay here with me. Push and come up. Good, lower and push through it. One more time, check in with your upper body. Are you still strong and lifted? And power. Keep that chest high. You should be looking at me just the way I am with you. Straight across the floor, chest up. Good, weight through the heels, not the balls of your feet. Can you, in fact, wiggle your toes? Let's do one more. Lower down, stay here. Stay here, and push. Nice job. That's it for that one. Unless you should decide to come back and do one more, not 3 more sets, just one more for that 4th set, now that you know what they are. And the chest press. We're going to give this one a little spin, all right? So here, I'm going to take this, and on the floor, I'm going to bridge up. Now, if you're on a bench, that's not going to work. If you're on a ball, you're already doing this, right? So a little glute work, and yet it's also a little more coordination. So if you're just getting started, and or your lower back has a tendency to need some TLC, this position may be okay for a little while and not through the whole set. So listen to yourself. Lower down, exhale, push, and then lower and bring this down. Good, and sorry about the disruption. And then lower down. Good, apparently this is not very exciting over here. And then lower. Good, and I need a little bit more supervision. Here we go. Lower down. Lovely. And push. Good, and lower. Push. Nice. And lower. And if you've got those hips up, remember they want all the way up. Knees to hips, to shoulders, straight line. If you're reaching fatigue, you can set them down. Push. And then release. And again, press. And release, and I can't even begin to tell you how irritating this is. If you have animals, you know what I'm talking about. Here we go, push up and down. Good, and hold. I want you to hover this right off the ground, and if you hover long enough, you will feel your triceps working. They're engaging. They're holding this weight from going to the floor and trying to extend. Nice, and that was like a hover for your triceps. So triceps are the secondary muscle growth. Good, I'm gonna have you roll to the side. Again, I have the mic, roll to the side to bring that up. Coming up, turning it over so we're standing up with proper care for the spine by staying long here, coming into that and lifting. You may take a little more time doing that if you tend to feel a little dizzy or you know you've got low blood pressure. Coming from lying to standing is a thing, so be careful about it. Weight on your heels, hinge at your hips, arch to the back, and then we come down. The weights come down, but your shoulder blades are engaged, and then pull and release. Let's count them out today. 2, and release. And 3, nothing wrong with turning your palms forward if you'd like to. And 4, and then release. Good, and 5, and squeeze those shoulder blades together. And 6, release this down. Good, and 7, come down. And 8, release. And 9, release. And 10, release. And 11. Good, and release. Remember, if you're there, you're at fatigue, you can stop. If your form is going, your lower back reaches fatigue. Either way, anywhere you fatigue and you're done, no more good form, we're done. We just train the good ones. And release. One more time. And release. Release this all the way out. Weights to the floor. And we will do a very brief cool down. I'm going to come to the floor. I'm going to do what we call a runner's lunge. Now, if for any reason you can't come this deep into your hip, you could take your hands to a couch or ottoman. You could take the foot and place it on a bench so you're not as deep. But when you're as down as you can, I want you to put your weight in this front heel. Most common error I see is this. We want that knee behind, so it's straight up and down like a table leg. I want your chest and shoulders to come forward. If that feels like you're too far to the ground, you want to elevate just a little bit. Try even your weights and elevating may feel more comfortable. Remember that in yoga, you walk into a room, it shouldn't be a comparison of all the bodies and who's in a perfect pose, because all that matters is that person in each pose feels it in the right place and not in the wrong one. Same here. Good, and release. I'm going to have you drop your knee down. Drop the top of the shoelace down if you want to, and I'm going to have you come back into this leg. Now there's 2 things that may be happening right now for you. The lower back is now rounded. It may be getting a stretch. If you're a little bit tight, it will be. If you're not, you may be feeling a stretch in the hamstrings, but if you have good mobility and flexibility there, you might not. So instead, you might need to take that heel down, pull the toe up, and lengthen forward. So notice there's a slight bend in that knee. Please don't lock it where you might hyperextend, but put the chest forward and the hip and tailbone pointing backward. And exhale. So 2 crucial things we've just done. That is stretching through the front of the hip and through the back of the hip. And yes, I needed that. Thank you. And then move this one back. Let's take the other one. Let's stay on the same side so you can see it. So heel right under the knee, fingers either on the floor or potentially elevated. If you have a step or a book or you have yoga blocks or your weights, you may be elevated. That may feel a little bit more comfortable. For me, it does. So push back through your heel and then drop down. I'm going to show you that again. So if you're here, kind of hanging out, you're not really pulling all the muscle to where you need it. You're going to push through the heel. You're going to drop now a straight leg through the hip to really open up both the hip flexor of this leg, but also you're dropping into the hips and the glutes here in this leg. Chest forward. Put those shoulders down. Exhale. Nicely done. And relax. Good. And bring this back. We're going to take that leg back again, Whoops, and that is not exactly what I was gonna do, right? I was gonna take it right here. So what I want you to do here is check. So as you have now a different leg forward, you may feel the lower back stretch more, you may feel it less, maybe it's close to the same. There's no right or wrong answer, but you're picking up clues about your body and you always want to do that. So if you're tight through the hamstring, again, this may be enough. If not, you've got a little bit more flexibility. You may want to get that heel out there. What we've done is created more tension in the back of the leg. Still though, slightly bent knee. Chest forward, tailbone back. Imagine this. I know it doesn't look like it, but I am trying to arch my back, stick my tailbone up in the sky. It's not going to happen, but it will initiate the stretch that I want here in the hamstrings. So chin and chest forward, good tailbone really back and up, and then release. I'm going to have you bring your foot back now and come in to simply a cat-cow back. So let's start with just a drop down, tailbone up, chin and chest are up, shoulders away from your ears. Inhale. And on the exhale, tuck the tailbone, tuck the crown of the head, and try to create an inverted U. Push the floor away. Keep going. Bringing your ribs to your hips. And then release. There's a saying that goes, you're only as young as your spine is flexible, so we're working on that here. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, push the mat away, tuck the crown of your head to the floor, and then release. I'm going to have you take your toes, curl them under. If you want to use your mat, you can. We are going to push up into a downward facing dog. So coming up, send those heels to the floor. Now yours may not come down depending on how tight you are, either in the back of the Achilles tendon behind the ankle or through the back of the legs. It will improve. Hold on here. Open up your entire hand, fingers splayed. Inhale here, tailbone up. Exhale and release. Good, and relax. Watch your hands. Go ahead and look at them. You can walk your feet toward your hands or walk your hands toward your feet or a little of both. Assume the weight on your heels. And I want you to come up just to this point. So we've been hanging down. This is where we're careful not to come up too quickly. Blood sugar levels low if they're low, or blood pressure if it's low, and if the both, that's a bad combination. So we go slowly, we round through the back and the spine, and then come up to a standing position. And there we have it. You've still got it.